Gentlemen, what if I told you that there's one simple adjustment that can double the intensity of pleasure for any woman for that matter, in foreplay, oral, fingering, and penetration? I'm not talking about some complicated technique or position that requires some acrobatic displays. No, just one principle that changes how she experiences every part of intimacy. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes, a men's sex therapist, and after working with thousands of couples over the past decade, I can tell you this. Most men are already familiar with this concept, but they're not using it correctly. Today, I am showing you exactly what it is, how it works for each part of sex, and most importantly, the critical principle at the end that makes all the difference. Skip that final piece and you'll ruin everything, so stay with me. The secret is simple. Rear access positioning. Now, before you think I'm just talking about one sex position, let me be clear. I'm talking about approaching every part of her body from behind, her pleasure zones, her arousal, everything. Now follow me here. When it comes to clitoral stimulation, most men approach from the front with her lying on her back. But for most women, it's twice as intense when you stimulate from behind with her lying on her stomach. You don't need to contort yourself. Just lie beside her, hand positioned naturally. From this angle, you have more direct contact with the most sensitive core of her clitoris, not just rubbing in circles, but applying gentle, precise pressure techniques that create deeper sensation. From the front, you're accessing her clitoris at one angle. From behind, you're accessing it more directly. The result? She feels double the intensity with half your effort. The same principle applies to using your full palm across her entire vulva. This technique, where your whole hand creates broad, rhythmic pressure, is incredibly effective from the front. But from behind, the contact is even more complete. You can generate massive waves of pleasure with minimal movement. And here's what most men don't realize. Before you ever touch her clitoris directly, you should be sensitizing her entire vulva and inner thighs. This primes her for far more intense response. From behind, this preparatory touch is somehow even more effective. Next, let's talk about oral pleasure from behind. It's more intense, more primal, especially if you approach it with genuine hunger and appreciation. The angle, the access, the psychological element of vulnerability, it all combines to create a different level of arousal for her. Which brings me to vaginal stimulation with your fingers. Whether you're stimulating the G-spot, the A-spot, the entrance, or using blended techniques across multiple areas, all of it is twice as intense from behind if you're doing it correctly. When she's on her back, her vagina tilts at one angle. When she's on her stomach, it tilts differently, giving you more direct access to the most sensitive internal zones with far less effort. But here's the catch. You have to be progressive. You can't just dive in with intensity. You need to warm her up gradually or you'll overwhelm her, possibly even cause discomfort. Now, before I get to penetration, let me address something crucial that most men skip entirely: full body arousal. The fastest, most reliable way to arouse a woman isn't mental stimulation or isolated touch. It's full body contact, what I call immersive presence. When you envelop her with your entire upper body, your chest, your arms, your hands, your mouth, moving across her curves, her skin, the places you find most attractive, you create massive sensation all over her body simultaneously. You're not just touching her. You're showing her desire, closeness, and genuine appreciation. This works beautifully from the front when she's on her back. But from behind, With her on her stomach and you moving over her, it's twice as intense. It's more primal, more erotic. It sets most women on fire faster than any other arousal method. This can be done in bed, standing while undressing her, or in any position where you can maintain that full body contact. And for men over 60, this approach is ideal. It doesn't require stamina or speed, just presence and patience. So now we get to penetration itself. The most intense penetration for women is typically from behind, but only if you do it correctly. And this is where most men get it completely wrong. A lot of women feel disconnected or used during rear penetration. The vagina can lose sensation or become numb. Some feel pain. If you just start thrusting from behind without proper buildup, you'll often get the opposite of intensity. You'll get shut down. So you have to approach it delicately. Good buildup where she has time to adjust and soften. Physical contact where she feels held, not just entered. Emotional respect where she feels cherished, not objectified. Done well, rear penetration gives a woman what I call transcendent intensity, where she completely lets go, releases, and surrenders to deep internal pleasure. I've worked with countless women who initially hated being taken from behind and felt nothing. But when their partner learned to do it knowledgeably and respectfully, they discovered how much they actually loved it. In this position, you also have better access to deeper cervical stimulation, which, when done progressively and carefully, can create powerful internal orgasms that aren't possible from other angles. But here's where I need you to pay very close attention. Am I saying you should do everything from behind from now on because nothing else makes sense? Absolutely not. That would ruin everything. Men over 60 have a huge advantage here. You've learned that the biggest isn't always the best. Younger men chase maximum intensity immediately, but you understand nuance. Everything you do from the front is also massively pleasurable and powerful, and it has something rear positioning doesn't: intimate closeness, face-to-face contact, eye contact, the feeling of being loved, not just desired. Rear positioning is like fire, intense, primal, powerful. Front positioning is like warmth, intimate, nourishing, connecting. She needs both. Without one, the experience is incomplete. Think of them as two different spices in a dish, both essential, both appreciated most when they contrast with each other. You also can't feel intensity without periods of less intensity. Intensity needs contrast to be fully experienced. So the real skill is interplay. Moving between these two approaches in phases during intimacy, sometimes building intensity from behind, then shifting to intimacy from the front. Back and forth, creating rhythm and variety. That's what separates good lovers from unforgettable ones. Frankly, if you're over 60, you might worry that rear positioning requires stamina or athleticism you don't have. But that's the beauty of this approach. It's not about speed or force. It's about access, angle, and presence. The full body arousal technique, the precise clitoral stimulation, the gradual vaginal buildup, none of this requires physical intensity. It requires understanding and patience. And those are your greatest strengths. I covered the specific mechanics of these techniques in last week's newsletter, including positioning variations that work for different body types, breathing patterns that enhance sensation, and how to read her body's signals during each phase. If you're not subscribed, links in the description. My question for you is this: which part of this are you most curious to try? Drop it in the comments. And if you want the complete guide to creating intense pleasure for women over 50, including advanced techniques, positioning secrets, and strategies I can't share on YouTube, join my free newsletter. Every week, real insights that transform intimacy. Links in the description. Remember, intensity without intimacy is just sensation, but when you combine both, you create experiences she'll never forget. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes, and I'll see you in the next one.